Alright, SPHL fans and Riverman fans, welcome to the video. In this one, I got special guest with me yet again, Zach Starry, and I thank him very much for joining me and breaking down the second round matchups and kind of wrapping up the first round. Um, Briefly, I'm going to touch on the first round. I'm not going to spend too much time on that. Just want to acknowledge the games basically real quick. We did have some shocking upsets to say the least. Shit that I wasn't expecting whatsoever. But that's playoff hockey for you. Um, we obviously got the Rivermen moving on, sweeping the Storm out of the first round. And, it was a great series. Honestly, it was. Storm was up 3-0, in game one and had everything in front of them and Riverman kind of stormed back into the game, if you will. And, I tell you, that game one was one of the most wild hockey games I've seen in recent memory. But like I said, moving on quickly here to, game two, we had a really good game. I would say the MVPs of those games was Jordan Ernst and Zach Purcell. I mean, Ernst is a big reason we won that game one, and Zach Purcell, our rookie, got 2 goals in that game in Quad City that helped put us over the edge. So, congrats to the Rivermen. And moving on to the other game, you got Marksmen and Bulls. Like I said, that series was a funny series for me. I didn't really know how to call it because I knew Marksmen could be capable of beating the Bulls, and at the same time, I knew Bulls had the capability of sweeping Marksmen, and that's what they did. They ended up sweeping the Marksmen, and I think the Lindsayonko brothers were the MVP of that series as well, both of them, because they pretty much lit up Marksmen. And yeah, they were awesome that series for the Bulls. And then that brings us to our 2 shocking upsets. Let's start with Dogs in Knoxville. Again, I say Mundinger's the MVP of that series. Shutting out game 2, and he only gave up 2 goals in game 3, but one of the goals was a garbage time goal, so basically only giving up 1 real competitive goal. And that blew my mind. The way Knoxville played in Knoxville against the Dogs, they looked like crap, and they got beat up pretty good on their home ice. See no chance in hell for Knoxville to win 2 in a row in Roanoke, and that's exactly what they did. I was stunned, and then they kicked Roanoke's ass in Game 3 for the biggest loss margin in the entire playoffs. I didn't have that on my bingo card. And then that brings us to your game, unfortunately, Havoc and Thunderbolts. Again, that was my vote for most likely sweep of Havoc sweeping the Bolts. So that took me by surprise to see Bolts move on. And I was a little stunned to see, the lack of offense from Havoc. You got to give Cole Cece the MVP of that round. He was just amazing, lights out. I mean, stop it. Like, he had 60 some shots on him, like in game 3. That's insane. That's insane. Havoc did everything they could to win that game 3. And just unfortunately, they couldn't solve CC enough, I guess you can say, to move on to that round. So, now in the second round, we got Knoxville and Bulls, and they're going to start in Knoxville and then play 2 in a row in Birmingham. And then you got Rivermen and Evansville Thunderbolts, and that's going to be the same setup like the Storm. Peoria, Evansville, and Peoria. So with that, Zach, I'll go ahead and turn it over to you, and you can give us your round one wrap up and thoughts of what you thought of the first round.
I mean, you covered it. Sweeping in the Storm, I was honestly shocked that it was that competitive. Um, I texted you and they were up 3-0. I just remember telling you this game's going to end 6-3 Peoria. Um, I just we've seen it all year long. Storm get up big against the Rivermen and they choke it away, and that's exactly what happened. And luckily they got that controversial last .1 of a second goal. But when they lost in overtime, I knew it was back to status quo, and game three or game two, I guess, should have been a shutout. They got one late, all that stuff. That series went exactly how I thought it was going to go, minus the 3 goal spot that you guys gave them in the first game. Um, that Fayetteville Birmingham game was a little stunning how I guess lopsided that one really looked. I mean, on paper, yeah, they lost by 1 goal in game two, but game one and even game two, I feel like the Bulls just owned them start to finish. The Dogs was a big shock. I thought it'd be a sweep. I thought it'd be a close sweep. Wasn't that was one I wasn't too shocked if it went game three. It did. I was shocked not just that the Dogs lost, but they lost so bad. Um, our series, I told you not to call it a sweep. I didn't have no good feeling towards that. Evansville was starting to come on strong. Game one, I just didn't have the same Havoc vibe. Being there live, watching it, they just weren't taking the shots. They were trying to set everything up all pretty, trying to get CC side to side, and it's like just fire at them and crash the net. And honestly, if it wasn't for Kaber's beautiful snipe over the shoulder just under the crossbar, we'd have got swept without even scoring a goal in this series. Game two, they looked so flat. They were taking shots, but they weren't really great shots. There was a couple that could have gone in. CC, earned his shutout. It wasn't that I'm trying to take that away from him and say that Havoc didn't, but they just didn't play Havoc hockey. And even in game three, they got that 1 goal lead, and it just seemed like they set back on it. And instead of continuing to pressure and attack and build on the lead, and they really didn't even do much until period three. Then they came on strong. Then they wanted to throw everything at the net, but by then CC was in such a good groove. It was hard. I mean, they got the 2 in, and they had that hope like, man, maybe we can get one. We got one with just like right around a minute left. Um, let's get another one, and I don't know, it just didn't have that good vibe towards it. I honestly, as we were down 4-3 in that last minute, I remember thinking, even if we score, we got to go to overtime, and even if we win that one, is this really the series that we want to be relieved we won? I mean, last year when we beat Roanoke, it was like, whew, wow, we beat them in their building. That was a close series. I'm glad we got like the first round against a 7 seed. Like, is this what we're gonna call a playoff win? I mean, it just, even if we won, it didn't even have good taste in the mouth. So, I mean, it sucks. It sucks being a fan of a team that bows out in the first round. I mean, but it happens. Everybody's gone through it. Um, you know, I get to sit back and watch another shitty Final Four like I got to watch for football. So we're watching Ohio State play some shitty team out of Indiana, and we're watching the Pelham Bulls, dairy cows as I call them, playing Knoxville. I mean, if you're going to ask me my pick to win it, I just kind of hope for North Korea to finally start launching nukes at us, because I don't want to see Peoria go back to back. I'm tired of your fans talking shit to everybody and then crying, acting like, why should we be the most hated team? Evansville, I don't think they're going to win it. They'd be the one I'd want to see. Let the fans there enjoy it, But I don't want to see Knoxville get another ring and be the winningest team in the SPHL as far as cups. But I definitely never want your little brother to win. So the Pilgrim Dairy Cows are the ones they win. Oh well, there's some friends down there. I hope they enjoy it, but you just never root for that. That's the rivalry. It's the Bears Packers. You're never excited to see that team win. Happy for the fans, yes, but nah, I pass. So yeah, this kind of sucks now. Like, not just because we lost, because now it's like, man, who do you pick? Who are you excited to see win? So,
Yeah. I get it. And that rivalry that you just described with um, the Pelham Dairy Cows there, as you lovingly refer to them as, kind of reminds me of another rivalry with Quad Shitty Storm. You know, it's just like, if they do have success, like what you said, you're happy for the fans, enjoy it. But as far as the team goes, nah, I'm okay with that. Like, I don't, I'm not gonna root for your success type of thing. But you know, it does kind of beg the questions. We kind of talked about this a little. I'll touch on it briefly, and then we'll move right into the second round. And it kind of does make you wonder with and I'm not saying it's his fault at all, so let's not twist my words, but it does make you wonder maybe how this series looked if maybe Brian Wilson started instead of Mike Robb, or you brought in Brian Wilson. Again, CC played out of his mind. Okay, he had a good series, and he willed that team to the second round. But you can't help but be a little curious. Do you care to comment on that a little bit, or are you good?
I said before we started last week that Willie was my choice. I felt like he was the hotter goalie going into it. I understand why the team picked Brian. I mean, he was the guy who stayed. He was the guy that was the number one um, on paper, for the year. So, um, go please. Okay. Um, so I mean, he was the guy you want to go to, um, show your loyalty, and I'm all for that. I mean, that's fine. Show loyalty. These guys play, a whole season. They deserve that. However, I think, especially in Game 3, I can't really credit Game 1, even though it was only one goal. That was just a really lucky shot. Good shot went over Mike's shoulder. Game 2, that second goal, I think it was, that was a little questionable. And then last night, it just felt like one of those games where it wasn't in the groove. And I think Brian was in it. I definitely think we could have won that game. And that's not taking anything away from Mike or the boys, or to point fingers as to who lost this game, because, like you said, 60 shots, 3 goals. That's CC stole that one. You can't blame one person for losing that one. Um, you know, Misplays, bubbled pucks. Who do we? I just don't think you blame anybody for losing this one. I just think if you had to ask me, I would have just left it as I think Brian should have got the start. I hope that they come back and put together a good product on the ice next year, and stuff like that. But I don't know. I wouldn't really say it was one person's fault, and I guess that's what kind of makes this series loss pretty easy. And kind of like last year against Peoria in the championship, was just that there's no uh, nobody to blame. There was no like, oh, our fuck up or our oops and stuff like that.
Right.
So I mean,
Yep, I agree. All right, we'll go ahead and move on to the second round, and we'll go over our first matchup, and we're gonna do the Knoxville Ice Bears and Birmingham Bulls first. You said interesting series, a series that can go either way. Led by two strong goaltenders, Austin Lotz and Muddinger. Two teams that are streaky at times. Like I said, I would still say Bulls are playing great hockey, but I tell you what, Knoxville winning those last two games in Roanoke has given them a lot of momentum. It looks like Muddinger has found his groove at net, and like I've always said about Dinger, when he's locked in and on, I mean he could be one of the toughest people to put a puck by in the SPHL. So, like I said, it really makes for an interesting series. I don't think anybody sweeps anybody. Um, and like I said, as the first round can attest to, just because you win your game one doesn't mean you locked up the series. So, like I said, even if Birmingham win in Knoxville, it doesn't mean that they're definitely going to beat Knoxville, and vice versa. If Knoxville wins their home game, it doesn't mean that they're going to win the series either. This one is going to be, my opinion, closely contested. And, like I said, for the whole playoffs, it comes down to your team defense, special teams, and goaltending on that's going to carry the workload for the most part, and it's two good ones. I am conflicted on who it is. My gut wants to say the Bulls move on to the championship round, but that's not to discredit Knoxville. If anybody can move past the Bulls and get into the championship series, it's definitely Knoxville, especially the way they played against Knoxville heading into or the way Knoxville played against Roanoke heading into this series. I just, my gut is strongly telling me that the Bulls are going to move on to the championship final. And it's hard because I've talked to Dinger from time to time. He's a great human being. I'm a big fan of his, and I always root for him. But it's going to be hard, to get through Dogs, get through Bulls, and then that championship round. It's a tall task for him, but I think I'm going to take the Bulls on this matchup. What are your thoughts heading into this series, and who do you think will take it?
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, this could be a complete sweep by either team. It can be a game three. It's a hard one to call and predict. Knoxville's got the home ice in game one. You can take that, and Birmingham's not a hard place to win at. They could take one of the two games there and win it in three games, or they could get hot and sweep them. And Birmingham's been on a roll. They could easily take game one in Knoxville. We've seen them do it with Fayetteville. They come home and they can be comfortable there, and they could take game two, or they falter. They got game three to fall back on. Even if they lose game one, they can still win both in Birmingham. I mean, it's a very tough series to call. Um, I think goaltending, you pretty much cancel it out. They're even. Lotz has been playing great. Mundinger was great in that series. I haven't seen Lotz play like crap too often this year. I've seen Mundinger shit the bed a little bit more. Um, the offense with Birmingham is, I feel like, a lot more consistent. Their defense is really tight. They do a great job in front of Austin. I'm going to give the nod to Birmingham, but I think it's going to go a little unconventional. I think Birmingham will win game one. I think they lose game two, and they win a close one in game three against Knoxville. I think it's a good series. It goes the distance. But it takes game three for a home team to finally win a game.
Yeah, I could see that happening. I just kind of like what you said. I think when you just look at roster depth and scoring depth, I do think that favors the Bulls. And when it comes to team defense, like what you said, I think they do a pretty good job protecting Lots. And Lots is one hell of a goalie himself. I mean, that's what makes this interesting. Is you got four great goalies. I mean, five if you count Tino, but you got like four great goalies. I mean, but they're all beatable on any given night, on any given day. You can beat these goalies, but they're
You're
tough.
going to count Stewart too, so you
Yeah,
got six.
Stewart. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, like I said, it really comes down to scoring depth and that defense. You need that secondary scoring like we got from Zachary Purcell. Like it's not like you have that on your bingo card to be, the big point getter, but like I said, it's not always going to be your Alec Bear or Jordan Ernst that take over a game. Sometimes you need like that Garrett Devine or Zachary Purcell, um, Carson Baptiste. You need those other guys to kind of help fill in those gaps too. And like I said, when it comes to the Bulls, I think they got just a little bit more depth to them and can overcome Knoxville's push, because I know Knoxville's going to push hard and they're riding that momentum. You agree with that?
Yeah, yeah, I think that's pretty accurate. I mean, it can go either way. This isn't one that I'm saying is definite either way. I'm going to play the middle ground on this one because I know Birmingham's hungry from last year, getting shown up in the first round like they have did by the same team. They come back, had a little tougher schedule, had a little more things they had to go through. Um, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe this is Lotz's last year along with Dinger. So maybe he's putting together his final run. Um, so I mean, it kind of comes down to which team's going to outlast the other, and I know that's the name of the game, but too often we see where it's like, okay, we know this team's going to win. We knew Peoria was going to beat Quad Cities. It wasn't going to go ever be an upset there. Um, where the Roanoke Knoxville is kind of like, okay, that's a series I can see who's going to outlast the other one. If both get a game, who's going to outlast each other in game three? And I do think that that's pretty much a fair assessment that this one's going to go the distance. Or should go the distance, I should say, on paper, on the way that they played. I do think it should go the distance, and it should be a Birmingham win, and they're back in the finals again.
Yeah, and I'll say this and then kind of caveat over into the next game matchup here. But I mean, I know it sounds like an simplification here, but it's just really, yeah, what it comes down to is who has more gas in the tank, who wants it more, and who executes their game plan the best. I know that sounds simple and cliche, but that's kind of where we're at, especially when you got these teams involved. And that goes for Knoxville and Bulls, just like it's going to go for Evansville and Riverman. And speaking of them, like I said, that is our next matchup. First game will be in Peoria Wednesday, then it goes Evansville and Peoria. I think, again, game one's key for Evansville on this one, especially for Evansville. Going back to Evansville, you want to have that one game lead on the Rivermen for sure. Um, like I said, I do respect the Thunderbolts. I have seen them. I respect Cole Cece. I know his capabilities. The one advantage I would say, like maybe even Riverman had over Havoc when it comes to Cole Cece, is we've seen this guy probably like close to 20 times over 2 years. We've he has stymied us. Don't get me wrong, but we've also solved that puzzle as well. I mean, I think Jordan Ernst got like 4 or 5 goals off Cole Cece in one game. Now, granted that's in the past. This is the playoffs. I expect Cole Cece to be strong at net. But he did go through a lot with Havoc. He did face a lot of shots in game two and game three, especially. Um, so it'd be interesting to see how much he has in the tank, if that affects him. If it doesn't affect him at all, we'll see. Um, again, I respect the Bolts. I'm not going to sit here and call a sweep on the Bolts. Not after what I've seen with Havoc. Uh, they're not to be taken lightly, even for a seventh seed. But if you're a gambling man, I would still put my money on Riverman to move on to the final matchup. Um, we've had our success against Evansville, obviously, in the postseason and in the regular season. I think you look at the roster depth and scoring depth. I know I sound like a broken record, kind of, but I don't see how you don't favor Riverman in those categories. It'll be interesting. Muse missed the first round due to illness, and I'm sure if healthy, he'll be inserted here in round two, and so that's going to be interesting to see how he does game one, kind of getting his feet wet again. That's why I think game one is very important to the Evansville Thunderbolts. that's pretty much a must win for them heading back to Evansville. I can see this game going 3 games, but with the last game being in Peoria, I don't see Rivermen losing in Peoria to Evansville, and that's why I pick Rivermen to go on and play the Bulls for the President's Cup. I think that game in Evansville can be a close game. Rather, Evansville loses or wins in game one. I think that game in Evansville will be a closely contested game. Um, but overall, I just think Rivermen are a little bit too much for the Bolts. Coaching, special teams, team defense, goal. The only thing that Evansville can really match Rivermen on right now is goaltending, and goalies can't score goals. They just prevent them unless it's an empty net goal, I guess. But yeah, I don't see a clear path, I guess you could say, to a championship for Evansville. And like Riverman, you can see that clear path to a championship. So again, no disrespect to Thunderbolts. They earned their rematch against the Rivermen in the second round, no doubt. CC played lights out, no doubt. But I think their storybook ends in the second round with Rivermen moving on to the finals to face the Bulls. Why don't you give us your thoughts and predictions on this matchup?
Well, first off, congratulations to the Bolts players, the fans. Hope you guys enjoy it. We're all behind you. You have every team in the league that doesn't play in Peoria rooting for you. That being said, you're getting swept. It ain't no joke. I'm not playing around. Wade likes to talk a lot of shit about how great Peoria is, but he never seems to want to be confident that they're going to take a sweep out of one of the 2 teams that they played 29 times this year. You would think that, this is just status quo for you guys since you guys have to play them. You guys have to play them so often in the regular season in order to get where you're at. But that being said, Peoria is not going to lose a game in this series. And I think the key that you didn't touch on, it's not goaltending. It's not so much offense or defense. Evansville is the second most penalized team in the league going into this postseason. The fact they only drew 1 penalty that was actually a penalty in game 1 should show you these refs don't know a thing about calling a good game. That being said, I bet the refs call Evansville for a lot more penalties in this series, and calls Evansville for a lot more penalties in this series, and Peoria has a deadly weapon there on their power play who leads the league in power play goals. He's a douchebag, can't stand him one bit, never will like the guy ever. I don't care if he saves 100 kids from burning buildings, he's still a douche. But he's good on the power play, and Cole CC is not a brick wall. He does give up some. Thing with Cole, I've noticed that if you let him get in his game and you don't score on him early, he builds up a wall and he's good. If you get on him early, he's a sieve and he'll give up everything you throw at him. A couple weeks ago, a month ago, or whatever, he came to Peoria and we put 2 quick ones on him. Ended up putting 3 more altogether on him. Put it 5 total. And the playoffs come along, we couldn't get an early goal on him, and he shut us down. So. The key to that one, I guess, is don't let CC get in his game. Get on him early, but the opportunity is going to be there. Evansville is going to take stupid penalties. They're going to get called for against Peoria. And Jordan Ernst is going to put in some goals. I think it's a sweep. I don't even think the games will be close. I know you had a close one last year with them. I think it was game 2 in Peoria. I think they led you like 2-1 or 3-2 or something like that late. I think Peoria wins this one, and whoever starts, if it's Nick seems to be a little bit softer. I don't know if he's still dealing with the ankle injury. But if it's Muse, it's lights out. I wouldn't even be surprised if it's back-to-back shutouts for Muse. I don't think the games are going to be close. If it's Nick and net, Evansville, I think, stands a chance to make it a series, make it a game. But I'm sure he's going to be over his sickness. The Muse will be in there, and I just think we're talking like 4-0 games, 5-1 games. I think Peoria is just going to blow them out of the water this round. You said you're used to seeing them. You see them all year, every year. You know how to play against them. Guy's not stupid. He knows how to put together a game plan. Like we talked about, what makes Peoria so deadly is they shoot. They don't horse around. They don't hee-haw around. They don't try to toy, and they don't run the cycle around and lose the puck and it's out of the zone. Like they come in the zone hard. They come in the zone fast, and they take shots. They'll dump it in from the red line and put it on net. They're not playing around. Playing goalie, that's a lot of up down, a lot of up down. You get tired real quick, and if you're going side to side on penalty, power penalty kills, trying to defeat the power play that's so tough, you're going to beat them. I don't think this series is close at all. I think you got a close one with Quad Cities because Nick was in net. I think if Muse is in net, you don't give up those 3 goals in the first part of the game. Not taking anything away from Quad Cities, but Nick just isn't the same Nick as he was last year. So I think if you had Muse in net, it would have been an even worse game 1. And, game 2 was still a blowout in my mind. I mean, you guys controlled the puck, controlled the play, controlled the scoreboard. So I don't know why you're so hesitant to call it on this one. Thunderbolts aren't going to make it to the finals. And that's not me being a poor sport because they beat us. That's just how I feel. I would have said the same thing about them against us. They proved me wrong. I hope you do prove me wrong again. I would be the happiest one. Let you throw tomatoes at me. If I'm wrong and you beat Peoria, it'd be well worth it. I just don't see it happening. I don't. But that being said, I'm kind of hoping on the Taylor Joseph revenge tour. He was in Huntsville for a couple weeks, and he beat us. He started out in Peoria last year, I think, at your guys' camp. This is his chance to, spur you guys. I know he sits on the bench, but you never know what kind of voodoo he can work on there. And remember, he came from Knoxville. So if Knoxville gets by Birmingham, I'm picking Evansville to go all the way. So that's my only conspiracy. That's the only thing that's going to help me deal with maybe Evansville has a chance, is that there's some kind of curse over them with Mr. Joseph.
I mean, look, what you said sounds great. I'm not gonna say that. I guess it's not that I don't think Riverman can't sweep them. I think Riverman absolutely can sweep the Thunderbolts. Putting that out there and saying it's a definite thing that's going to happen is a little different. Call it superstition, or not wanting to give them ammo, because kind of like with Knoxville is the best at this. Whenever I say anything not negative about Knoxville, they stick it up my ass, basically. And literally every time I've ever said something negative about Knoxville, they turn around and win. So it's kind of, I guess, that type of superstition I have with them. It's like, look, dude, am I on par with what you're saying? Absolutely. On paper, on ice, however you look at it, this should be a sweep into the finals. I'm not going to argue that at all. A lot of things what you said are very true. Bolts have a harder time kind of keeping their composure when they play us. Kind of like what you said about Storm. They try to out-bully us and try to be more physical than us and get carried away with that. They start taking penalties. I know Brandon Harrogate is no longer with Thunderbolts, but he was famous for that. I mean, he really didn't take a whole ton of penalties outside of the Riverman game, but every time that man went to the penalty box, Riverman scored a power play goal. So it's just, that's the thing that people hate about, I think, Riverman the most is the mental side of things, the way they drag other teams in to their style of play. Kind of the between the whistle stuff, the getting in your head, the getting you off your game. They basically want you to hate them. Is what they want, and they want you to do stuff that's uncharacteristic of your team and what you normally do. That's the whole point. They want you off your game, and it plays right into their hands. Rivermen are a very physical team. They tote that line. They really do, and it gets to people. That doesn't just get to fans. It gets to the players on the ice too. And we're like I said, Rivermen are good at taking advantage of those situations. They're deadly on the power play, like you said, with Jordan Ernst, Alec Bear. Um, JMP has been known to be good on the power play and penalty kill both. Like I said, to me, the thing that's a mystery that might somewhat work to Evansville advantage is as of right now, we still got Michael McChesney on the IR, and we still got Zach Wilkie on the IR. Now, granted, their goal was to come back at some point in the second round, rather that's game 1, game 2, or game 3, or at all, is a wait and see. We could see Zach Wilkie back in game 1, maybe not. Maybe we see him in game 2, especially if we lose, maybe not. It just really depends on how that injury has healed and what he can do on the ice, because it's not just about skating, it's about blocking shots. What the Rivermen did very well, especially in game 2, was blocking shots and not even allowing shots to reach the goal area. So if Zach Wilkie takes another puck off the ankle, does that put him out again? So there's still some variables. There's still a chance. There's still some hope for Evansville. Um, they could possibly steal a game away from the Rivermen, and if they do, I think that would be in Evansville. But kind of like what you said, should this be a sweep? I think it should be. But that's not me being cocky. Even if I wasn't a Rivermen fan, I would be saying this. Like, so take this off. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, if I'm not a Rivermen fan, I still think it's more likely for the Rivermen to sweep the Bolts than not, especially with Muse at net. So, you want to expand on anything I said and give your thoughts on that?
No, I think this is. I got on there last night and left that post about congratulations on winning your back-to-back championship, because that's what it's going to be, dude. I felt like the only teams that were going to take you guys down was Roanoke or Huntsville. And when Roanoke lost, I was like, oh, well, Knoxville could take them out in the second round. That might be it. Now that you're tying the last two good teams up in Birmingham and Knoxville in a series that Knoxville may not make it out of, and you guys have destroyed Birmingham all year, I'm like, shit, this one's over. Evansville's not even going to be in the same ballpark as far as competitiveness with you guys. So that one's already crossed off. Pack your bags to the championship. You got home ice. We've seen it firsthand last year how tough it is. Birmingham does not travel. They won't go to Peoria for the finals. So you guys have the whole rink to yourself for 2 games if Birmingham's able to win at home. Knoxville's your last hope to try and take down the Rivermen, I feel, and I'm not so sure they get past Birmingham. So I'm pretty much calling it right now. Peoria is going to join the back-to-back club with Huntsville. I think Pensacola did it, and I can't remember if Knoxville's done it or not. But I guess that's your certificate into the big boy club finally for all these years. But yeah, I mean, it's just pretty much for Rivermen, for your fans. I think it's more of a guarantee you win than you lose. And that's not trying to send out rat poison to the other teams, and that's not trying to jinx the Rivermen or nothing like that. To the ones out there that like to get on there and talk shit and all that stuff, you better hope you win the championship, because there's no reason why you shouldn't win it with these last 3 teams that you might have to face. If you lose one of them, I think I told the guy today that the SPHL page will be biblical. Like, you guys will have to find a rock and hide underneath it like it's a nuclear disaster, because everybody in the league is going to just rip you guys up for as much crap as you talk, and to lose to either a 4, 6, or an 7 seed. Um, and the difference between Havoc fans and Ribbon fans is we lost to 7 seed and we can take it because we don't talk a whole bunch of crap. We know why we lost. So I mean, I'm kind of looking for that kind of anarchy. That's kind of the reason why I root against Peoria is because their fans. It has nothing to do with their team. The area I root against them because they're so cocky that it's like, man, when they fall, it's over. Like you're never going to hear the end of it from the rest of the league. So, um, but outside of that, I don't think it happens this year. We'll see where we go from there. I think there's going to be some big changes in Huntsville as far as players. I think Roanoke's got a couple that are going to leave, and it could change the outlook on that. When Birmingham season ends, where are they going from there? We already know Knoxville's going to be looking for a new starting goalie next year. The dynamics of the league are going to change, and you just wonder where does Peoria fit into that. So we talked about earlier, do they lose in this round or next, and that drives people to want to come back and get another one? Or do they say, yeah, well, we're at the end of our road, we're done, let's hang it up? Or do they win and say, hey, let's ride off in the sunset? Or do they say, hey, look, let's come back and get three in a row there? So, you don't know about Peoria. They seem to magically draw guys back in when they say they've retired. I don't look for them to fall off the mountain. They'll probably be back in the same spot again next year. Win, lose, or draw. But I do think that this year you might as well just start etching their name on the cup because it's theirs. It's somebody has to take it from them. That isn't going to be a fight to see who wins it. The year that um, Birmingham and Roanoke win, it was like, oh, who's going to get it? They're both really, good, really hot right now. Even last year between Huntsville and Peoria, you didn't know who was going to take it. Peoria's the team that should have got it, but Huntsville was hot and they were hungry and they took game one. And you thought, okay, well, now it's time to get a little scary. This year, I honestly don't see Peoria losing another game. I've got them sweeping um, Evansville and sweeping Birmingham in the finals if it was the bracket I would put together. I don't think that they're going to go down with Pensacola as being the teams to never lose a playoff game, and win the championship. So, um, so yeah, that's my pick. That's where I stand from here, and we'll see where we're at next week.
Well, I can't say I hate what you said. I mean, that's for sure. And I get it and I understand it. Like, look, like with me, I like to chirp, I like to talk. I'm very supportive, very vocal about my team. I know if Riverman Law loses, I'm going to have about 50,000 notifications and tags in the group asking if I'm okay or just in general shit talking the Rivermen. And like I said, it's fair game. I've earned that. I've earned that wholeheartedly. I'll be the first to admit that. But to me, it's kind of what makes it fun. It's what, the prospect of being a champion and being that vocal about it from the get go and seeing it come to fruition. Like, it's so sweet. But it's a double-edged sword because if it doesn't work out in my favor, I just gave people a shit ton of ammo to to go against me.
Yeah,
So
so this past season when you guys kept throwing it in our faces about how you're the champions and that's the only thing that matters. Can you imagine if Birmingham or Knoxville ends up beating you in the finals and now you get to use that against you? Like, shrink you guys way back down. I remember the year you guys lost to Roanoke in the conference finals,
oh,
and it wasn't going to be found for a couple of weeks. And even now, you still don't want to talk about it. The fans just want to act like that year didn't exist. That's
yeah, I mean, basically, I came out with a video afterwards, but I tell you this, when I did come out with the video after we lost to the Dogs, I damn sure didn't want to do it. I mean, and I'll be honest about that. It sucks, but that's the beautiful thing about sports in general. It's just, when you're all in, you're all in, and when you win, it's the most amazing feeling in the world. But when you lose, it hurts. It literally, emotionally, physically, it sucks. It hurts, especially when you know you could do better and you're a championship quality team. I don't have to sit here and tell you this. You already know this of the ups and downs, when it comes to this sport.
I think it hurts Peoria fans that way because it hurts their pride. I think because they spend so much time talking about how good they are, and they have to, hear the same things about like how good are you when you don't play any good teams, and then they do lose to a team. It hurts their pride because it kind of proves everybody right. Where like with us last night, we lost, and my first thing on my mind wasn't that, oh man, how am I going to face Wade, or how am I going to do this podcast, or oh my god, I'm going to hear so much shit talk. It was like, damn. I want to take my kids to another game this year. Then it was, damn, how many players did we just watch play for the last time? And that to me is what hurts about the season ending. Um, it was like when the Rivermen left the IHL or the AHL and they had the team signing after the game. Like that hurt more than losing the damn game. It was like, man, we're saying goodbye to these guys for the last time.
Yeah.
Um, and that's how I feel about it. I know there's a lot of fans down here that they care more about the sentiment rather than the score. We want them to win a championship, and you're hurt they didn't win it. You're hurt that but I don't think embarrassment ever set in any of our faces. As like, how did we get beat by the seventh seed? Last year Birmingham got beat by the same team the same way. They won game one, lost the next two, and I don't think any of us Havoc fans shit talked them because we're rivals, but we don't hate those people. Um, we're happy if they win. We're there. A bunch of us were there to tell them, hey, look, let it go. It's just 1 year. You come back next year. Maybe the guys will be hungrier and you'll be in the championship next year. Now we're feeling that same kind of. But I listened to a lot of them talk last year. It's like they were talking about how embarrassing that was. And it's like, why? Why is it embarrassing? It's hockey. It's playoffs. It can go any which way. You see it in the pros where the top seed gets knocked out all the time. How many years has the President's Trophy winner in the NHL won a Stanley Cup? I mean, it happens. They lose in the first round. The Detroit Red Wings there in 93, 92, 94 when they were the best team in and lost to the Sharks, which was their first year in the playoffs. I mean, it happens. You can feel embarrassed, but feel more sad that the season's over and feel it like, damn, I might have just watched Robbie Fisher play for the last time. And, maybe this is the last game for Palmer and, does our captain come back? It's stuff like that is like, man, where do we go from here? I hope next year, I hope they're able to put together a team. I hope we don't lose all these people. I hope someone doesn't offer Tyler a good job to go become the head bench boss. That's what I think of when our season ends, and that's what hurts more than the actual loss.
Yeah.
Uh,
No, I
you know,
agree. Yeah, I can only speak for myself, but I do think most Rivermen fans do share that same sentiment. It's just like, look, no, we're pissed that we lost. I mean, don't get me wrong, that hurts too, but exactly what you said, especially me being a second generation season ticket holder and fan, being able to take my kids to the game just like my dad introduced me to the game. When that final puck drops, when that final horn sounds, it's bittersweet. Even when we won the championship last year, it was still had that bittersweet feeling to it. Like, yeah, we're ecstatic we won, but now hockey's over. Now we got to wait till October again. And like you said, we watched Hageman for the last time play. We watched um, like Levine play for the last time. When you see these people you really admire play for the last time, it's a kind of sad feeling you get come over you. It's just like, man, that was a great way to go out, and I'm ecstatic. But damn, this is really the last time I get to watch you play hockey, and that sucks. But if you're gonna go out, that's a hell of a way to go out, and it's kind of the same this year. Maybe why I'm so extra passionate is because I don't know what's gonna happen with Jordan Ernst. I don't know what's gonna happen with Alec Bear or Zach Wilkie. I know what's gonna happen with JMP. He's done. We're not gonna see him play anymore. I
yeah,
want this. Yeah, and I want this so bad for those guys. I want Alec Bear and like Jordan Ernst and even JMP to be able to say, not only do I got 3 rings, I got 3 rings with the Peoria Rivermen. That's one hell of a legacy to leave. And that's what excites me. That's what makes me passionate. That's what brings this out in me is I want this so bad for those guys. And so, like I said, I know I come on strong and a bit much, and I know I even cross the line from time to time, and I honestly don't mean to do that. But I just want this so bad for this organization and for those players. I want that legacy left. I want there to be no doubt that they left their mark in the SPHL. So that's where you see a lot of my passion from. Like I said, I can't speak for other Riverman fans, but I know there are some that share the same sentiment as I do. So, I just want to make that clear that this is not just purely about wins and losses for me. I do understand that other side, and I totally agree with you 110%. That's what makes this sport great. So that's is to being able to share that with other people and watching the people that you support be successful. Like I said, that's what it's all about. So, um, that kind of brings us to a conclusion, like I said. So with me and you, we both got Bulls and Rivermen in the finals, and you've already stated who you think's going to win the championship, and we obviously know who I'm pulling for. And like you said, it's going to be an interesting offseason. A lot of turnovers going to happen with some of these top teams. It's going to be a new look, new year. That's SPHL hockey. Count yourself fortunate if you keep the same group of guys together for like 3 or 4 seasons. Count yourself lucky because that really doesn't happen that often. So with that, I'll turn it over to you. You can give your final thoughts and wrap this up before we shut this video down.
Um, I got nothing left to say. I said it all in there. I know we'll do another one next week, probably to do the finals and then maybe one to close up the season and all that stuff. But um, I don't know. If we're picking who I want to see, I do want to see Evansville and Birmingham in the finals. I do want to see Evansville winning it all. It'd be nice to see a team never get there. A team that's always down the bottom, get one. Um, Two, it's nice to say, hey, I lost to the championship team and stuff like that. But it's just mainly like I said before, I don't want to see any of the other 3 teams win it. Um, but I just don't see it going that way. I don't see anybody testing Peoria. Um, Maybe we get a good series if it's Birmingham or Knoxville. I don't know. Knoxville, I think, stands the best chance to beat Peoria, but I just don't see them getting past Birmingham. And I could be wrong. For the sake of the finals, I hope I'm wrong. But we'll see.
And yeah, and of course, I'm gonna have you back for the finals, like I said, and we'll break that down and wrap up the second round, regardless of what the Rivermen do. Just like you, I'll be here with another video, and then another video with you to close out the season, which I think is only fitting because, like I said, I love having you on these videos with me because like I said, I totally respect your opinion. There's probably not too many other opinions I respect more than yours. You always have great insight. You're honest. You say exactly what you're feeling and what you think. You don't sugarcoat nothing. And I have nothing but total respect for that. And, the love that you show Havoc and other, it's to be admired. So I love having you on these videos. It's awesome. Like I said, I look forward to the next video about the finals and then closing down the season with you. So again, thank you for being on my video this time.
You're
Uh,
welcome.
Truly sorry that the Havoc couldn't move on. I really wanted them to. Um, Hope they, like what you said, recruit good and they're right there next year because I think the league's better when Havoc and, like you said, have that competitive drive against each other and rivalry. And I want to see us play Havoc more often because those are the games I probably get up for the most. So,
It was a terrible ending, but it was a great season, and that's kind of what I focus on. Is the season was really awesome. The players, the coaches. I got to make a whole set of figures for the parents this year, and our our booster president Tanya. She let me come back in, which I didn't even expect to. She, told everybody, "Hey, this is the guy who made these," and everything like that. So I got to meet a few of the parents, which I've never, gotten that before. Um, so I mean, there was a lot of things that I got to do, and of course, I take my kids to every game, call them my hat trick, and so they got to be a part of all that with me, and that's just the memories that I know they'll stick with. That's why I hate when the season ends, because those are what I try to, you know, those few hours you get one on one with them or 1-on-3 with them, um, are the ones that are going to stick around a lot longer. Like you said, like I know, our dad used to take us to the game, and that made us continue to go to hockey games. Um, so that's the part that sucks the most, that the season's over, and that's, how the cookie crumbles. So, um, but yeah, I mean, there's always next year, and I know when Glenn took the team over, he had a lot of early round dismissals. Even had a finals that he lost before he built the empire. So I know Stu's young at it, and he's doing a great job. I don't think we're going to ever fall off the mountain. I thought last year would be the year that we would have to start at the bottom, but he found the right guys and got them playing their game. I don't really worry about next year and are we going to fall off again and stuff like that. So I think he does a great job. I think Tyler does a great job. Our video coach and everybody that works in the equipment room and the trainers and all that stuff, they do a great job keeping it family oriented. The players are loose all the time. So I'm just excited. It sucks we got to wait till October though. It seems like so far away when it first ends.
yep, I feel that. Well, with that, we'll go ahead and wrap this video up. Again, thanks for joining me. I'll see you at the next puck drop, and I always keep it Riverman style.